One-man army, Rambo. Baby walking like Naomi Campbell. I be like a sailor, swimming in the money. I was broke, won't go back. This a throwback, by the go in cold beer, baby, hold that. I'm not there yet, but I'm so close. Shine your light on me, I'm lost. Feeling around in the dark. I can feel it, I'm so close. I can feel it in my bones and that. Move our bodies as we own the night.
Welcome back to the Twist of Fate podcast. Today, I'm in the Big Apple, New York, to talk about a very special topic. Let me start this off. A lot of people think because I'm in business, I'm all about the money. The truth is, I advocate to create value every day of your life for your mom, for your brother, your cousin, your community. So this episode is a big I love you to the social impact people that are making the world better. And I am really, really proud and excited to bring my friend from college days on this podcast to talk about Open House New York and making social spaces more accessible, more available. Today we have the executive director, Kristin LaBuz. Welcome to Twist of Fate, my friend.
Doug, it is such a pleasure to be here.
All right, so for my audience, this show, we really talk about making the world better. And, nonprofit causes, is where a lot of people think like nonprofits, that's like not business, but it actually is. And it's an essential function. And with a lot of the challenges we have in the world today and kind of like what's going on in America, I think this episode, I hope, will be a reminder of the important role you have to play. So if you don't mind, maybe you tell my audience a little bit about Open House New York.
Sure. And Doug, just again, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to New York. Quick note, Doug and I go all the way back from Cleveland. I have always loved cities, and a love of cities led me to be the executive director of Open House New York. We are a nonprofit that produces public programming that inspires and invites New Yorkers to learn more about how the city functions. So this programming could be related to architecture, urban design, or infrastructure.
Okay, and then as the executive director, my assumption, there's a lot that goes on here. That means you gotta handle donor management, you gotta handle like operations, how to allocate funds in a compliant way. Am I correct? Or?
Nobody is busier than the executive director of a small nonprofit. I will tell you that. In this role, I have the pleasure of wearing many hats. I have to be a Swiss Army knife. So I am the HR department, I am the finance department, I am the marketing department, and I oversee an incredible team of 5 staff.
And if we could talk a little bit more for your theory of change, or like what is your goals as an organization, like how you're going to impact the lives of New Yorkers?
Sure, and I love this question. Open House New York is all about giving New Yorkers access to the city. We believe, and this happens through tours, through panel discussions, through these one-of-a-kind experiences where we're taking people inside City Hall or inside subway tunnels or to the top of skyscrapers. And we believe that this access generates awareness. It helps New Yorkers understand how this complex city works. And from this awareness, we hope that leads to agency. We hope that leads to New Yorkers being active participants in the city, whether it is stepping up to participate in your block association or voting in a local election.
Got it. And then in terms of like where you're at with fundraising and financing the operation, like you're actively fundraising now, correct?
We are never not fundraising.
Right. Good
Welcome
answer.
to nonprofit world.
And then is there like an event or like what, like is Giving Tuesday a big thing? Like, is there a time of year where it like you spiking, it gets real hot?
Sure. So our largest fundraiser is April 30th. Buy your tickets. And it's a big gala this year. It will be held at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which you can see right through this window.
Fantastic. And then what's going to happen at that event?
At that event, we bring 300 leading New Yorkers together to celebrate the city. And true Open House New York style, there's a real experience. So it's not just a gala with a chicken dinner. We are taking our guests on hard hat tours. We are giving them design tours of a building. We will be going up to the rooftops of a number of the new developments in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. It's a real immersive experience that celebrates place and celebrates the city.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to the fourth wall and break it, okay? Hey, Twist of Fate New Yorkers, it's time to get off the bench and in the game. I hope that you attend this fundraising gala and you may even see Doug Younger, the Twist of Fate host, at that event. I'm definitely gonna buy tickets.
It'd be amazing.
But this is an interesting segue as to what they're gonna say, well, Doug, why can't you just commit to do it? Because we are both parents. So I gotta make sure that my boys are well taken care of. But that's a good segue for you. So motherhood.
Motherhood.
Now, what's this all about? Because listen, hold on,
question.
guys, hold on. Like, Kristin and I have known each other since college. And I'm not gonna carbon date us for sure. Forget that, that's not happening. But you've known us since you were a freshman in college. I have to admit, back then, I never thought I would be a father. I never thought you'd be a mother.
Likewise.
I never thought but life has brought change in a positive way, right?
In the most beautifully transformative way.
So tell me more about that, because I really want my audience to understand, first of all, our lady business leaders are special. Just because the VCs will give you less than 2.5% VC dollar doesn't mean the broader business community doesn't know you guys have a special role to play. And guess what? That means balancing this business thing, being a mom, being a wife, and that's not easy. So I respect, I
appreciate that. And I will say mothers, but also fathers, any caregiver, when you're taking care of a young human, when you are responsible for their development and well-being, you really have to learn how to optimize your time. And that is a valuable skill set, whether you're in the domestic sphere or in the business sphere.
And then somehow motherhood was maybe some of your inspiration to kind of become a social do-gooder, right?
I've always been a social do-gooder, but I haven't always been a leader in the field. I've always been, for many years, I was behind the scenes. But I've never really been behind the microphone. I had an opportunity to step up into this executive director role when my daughter was 9 months old. And it was a scary, turbulent time. And I drew on the strength and lessons I learned from being the mother of a young child. And there were 4 takeaways. One is that you're never gonna be ready for a big role. You're never ready. 2 is that you just have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself that you'll figure it out in the moment. 3 is you have to ask questions because you're not gonna know everything. There's no playbook. So ask people around you who have been through this experience. And then 4th is build your community, build your village, build the network of people that you know you can count on and who can help you and sustain you and fulfill you.
Hey, Twist of Fate listeners, did you know you can book me, Doug Younger, DY3, to speak at your next event, deliver a keynote, or commencement speech? You know I'll bring all that Twist of Fate energy, as well as my experiences as the founder and CEO of 3 Steps Forward, a marketing company. The accolades that come with being a university adjunct professor and lessons from my corporate career in Fortune 500 businesses traveling to over 40 countries worldwide. You can also book coaching and workshop sessions for you and your team. Book me using the link below in the description for this episode. Hey, you never know. You may find your own inspiration leading to a twist of fate.
Amazing stuff. And I love that taking a life event like having a child, I think there is like a social stigma of that means you have to nest, right? Like you gotta buy that house. You gotta quit all your professional interests. You have to nurture. But in the modern world, that's unrealistic expectations. But this is why I'm giving a special shout out to the ladies and not just the dads, because I think we get plenty of pats on the back, but it is not easy balancing all those things. And your 4 steps, like your 4 takeaways there, gold. And all the ladies out there, I hope you wrote those things down, because that is your path to rising up. Now,
May I say one more thing, Doug, about this? I also know that for my daughter to have a mother who is happy and fulfilled is the best role model I can provide for her. So for her to see me taking the microphone at a work event or leading a tour, I know that I'm working, but I also know I'm setting a really good example for my daughter.
And I think that's a very important thing. And you bring her to the events, right?
For sure.
I love that. I did a keynote speech at Cal State East Bay at a career event.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I do public speaking, but it's also fulfilling for the parent to know their kids are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And my 3 sons were, of course, writing their notebook, like, shenanigans.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think it's both ways. I agree. It's important to set the standard for being a role model for your child, but it's also fulfilling as a parent to kind of like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you. Now, hence the name Twist of Fate. One of my alumni employees, Hunter, named this whole series because I would talk about the twist of fate is when in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
It's when somebody comes and tells me something's impossible and you start to figure it out and the momentum is reversing. It's similar in athletics, right? Like when the losing team starts to figure it out and you can tell they're gonna win. In entrepreneurism, finding that inspiration for change is important. And, my understanding is that in some way, there was a change in your personal life with your father that inspired you. Maybe you want to talk about that?
Sure. And shout out to my dad, Tom LaBuz.
He's watching, right?
Hi, Dad.
We love you, Dad.
So I just want to give a shout out to my father, Tom LaBuz, because his story both inspired me as a professional, but also inspired my interest in place. So my dad worked at a furniture store on a main street in Oneonta, New York. And this was a Macy's scale, a family-owned Macy's basically, scaled for a small town. These types of stores do not exist anymore. But so I grew up, going to visit my dad at work, and he was very passionate about his job. But it's retail. And so he worked long hours. He was working over the holidays, he was working weekends, he was working nights. And his whole career, he thought, one day when I retire, I'm gonna get a cabin in the Adirondacks and I'm gonna go fishing and I'm gonna hunt and I'm gonna live the life I always dreamed. And that was his goal. He worked so hard for so long. And then he had a medical condition. And a few years ago, his leg was amputated.
Oh.
And he could not go hunting, could not go fishing, could not live this retirement life that he had worked so hard for. And so that taught me to not wait until the end of your career to find joy, to make sure that you work now, find purpose, and find joy in what you're doing, because the future is never guaranteed.
Man, it resonates with me on so many levels, Kristin, because, in my mind, I view myself as a champion fishing angler in California. I don't know, it's become a lot of my identity. I fished with my kids and, I fish twice a week. I don't know if you know, like I'm really hardcore into that.
Hardcore, Doug.
If that were taken from me and if I didn't find that, it would break my heart. So I know your father has made a huge sacrifice, but he's set the stage for you to be inspired to live your life and be happy. And, for that, again, Dad, you're special. So we love you, right?
And the fact that you're fishing now and not waiting until retirement.
Did you know that, I'm really hardcore. Like, I've caught 47 striper bass.
What?
And 2
Doug
months.
Younger never ceases to surprise me.
Well, no. So my grandfather was a World War II Master Sergeant. And then my dad was a business guy. They wanted to make sure, even though intellectual prowess was big, my mom was an educator, so they really wanted me to perform. But I need to be able to handle myself. So I can fish, I can hunt, I can do all that stuff. So I hope your dad still achieves these aspirations. An amputation is not a death sentence. But definitely you have to think a little creatively about how you're handling things.
For sure.
So then, okay, this is fantastic conversation. If you don't mind me asking, for you, the sky's the limit now. You've ascended to leadership. New York is a special place, and you've carved out your niche in the world here. If you don't mind me asking, what does success look like now for you? When, what mountain are you? Is there something else on the horizon? Like what do you dream or aspire to?
I have two answers to that. One is personal and one is professional. And the personal one is to go home after a long day of work and put my daughter to bed and feel like I've done my small part to make the city a little bit better. I think professionally for Open House New York, we are a small but growing organization. My North Star is to turn our annual festival, Open House New York Weekend, into
That's the April one.
That's the October festival.
Okay.
April is the gala. October is our citywide festival, Open House New York Weekend. This year it'll be October 17th through 19th. We unlock 300 buildings across the city. City Hall, subway tunnels, skyscraper penthouses, and we allow the public to come in to these rarely accessible places for design tours to experience the city truly. And my goal is for this festival in October to become like the New York City Marathon. It is just such a part of the calendar. It is an event that touches millions of New Yorkers and makes everyone proud to be part of the city.
Okay, October 17th. Is it the public needs to buy tickets?
There are some
Or are
sites,
you in private party?
No. So the festival is largely free and open to the public.
Okay, you guys don't know, but like I used to live in New York. You know, people don't know this. But you used to throw like auctions and like events. I used to tell Nikki all the time, like, we need to get on the guest list of that. Like, I've attended some of your galas, so.
Enjoying this episode and want more Twist of Fate? Let's do this thing.
I am fierce. I am powerful.
No, we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna do it, and we're gonna make our own brokerage with it.
I think your strategy was different.
It's not just me, it's a team. No, we're gonna work with you and we're gonna walk with you.
Check out over 40 episodes with new ones on the way. Find your inspiration with Twist of Fate. Available to stream on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
I'm just saying, guys, from personal experience, you want to go to this. In fact, I'm going to commit to you, I'm going to go to that if I can get on the and Shanae go and get on the private list.
Well, you have a friend at Open House New York, Doug. We'll make it work.
You know, coincidentally, I'm not prepared to make a full announcement why, but we will be back. The Twist of Fate team will be back in October because we will be at New York Comic Con for our own Manhattan secret project.
Okay.
And we're going to be here anyway. So maybe
We'll chat.
I'll invite you to some private parties.
We'll do a little quid pro quo. Okay.
This is great. So then, okay, I teach at university, some Cleveland schools, Oberlin College, liberal arts, business with a heart, Cleveland State, and I also teach at some other universities. But one of the things I talk about for my female business students, the importance of having a mentor and a sponsor, and that there's a difference between the two. I define it as a mentor is someone that has walked the road you've walked before and make sure that you don't make the mistakes they make. A sponsor is somebody that will financially get off the bench and in the game and like make you what you need to be or promote you or really do something. I'm just curious. You as a female leader, not just as, listen, you were a leader before the executive director thing, my opinion. I think you were, but did you have a mentor or a sponsor or not?
I did, and I would like to give a shout out, I'm gonna drop a name, to Andrea Woodner, who is a philanthropist and an architect and a founder of an organization called the Design Trust for Public Space. And she's the one who first hired me fresh out of grad school in Philadelphia to come to New York in 2009 and truly changed the trajectory of my life. I went to the University of Pennsylvania.
That's a good school. You can't just not name that.
University of Pennsylvania, shout out to the School of Design, shout out to the Masters of City Planning program.
Penn, we love you. So then she was there for you in both ways, like mentor and sponsor?
Mentor and sponsor. And we have stayed in touch over the course of my career. And last summer, when I stepped into this executive director role, I took her out to breakfast and I talked about some of my challenges and opportunities. And she said, Kristin, I believe in you. And she wrote me a check.
Wow.
Wrote a check for Open House New York.
So if you don't mind me, because the common question so first of all, the majority of my female students and mentors, because I coach even in corporate, the ladies struggle to get mentors and get coaches of any kind. Was this a natural, like you two met each other? Like How did this happen?
Sure, and she hired me. So she was the board chair of the first organization I worked at. But my advice for young folks and for the young ladies is to nurture those relationships. Nurture those relationships in the off season. Nurture those relationships when you don't have a direct ask, because you never know when the time will be right.
This is great. And if you don't mind, I want to transition to one thing I know about now that I'm an entrepreneur. And I have had a past life as an executive director, actually, at a nonprofit. Not everything's all peachy keen and rosy. There are setbacks. As a high performer I've known a long time, how do you deal with a setback? How do you deal, I don't want to say the F word, failure, because I don't think you think of things like that. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how do you handle a setback or a failure?
Sure, I think that's a really great question. And I think for me, it's important to maintain a healthy sense of perspective, right? I love my work. Our work is valuable. If we have a setback, if we lose a funder, if a deadline slips, it's not the end of the world, right? And so just to maintain that sense of balance and big picture, I think helps me from spiraling down. I think the other aspect is you have to be resilient and you have to roll with the punches. This wasn't a failure that was anybody's fault, but of course, COVID, the pandemic, for an organization that is designed to bring people together for shared experience and shared space, COVID kneecapped us in a major way. And we had to think and we had to get creative.
Why is that? Because it's just funding just stopped.
I mean, the core of who we are in our programming is bringing people together for shared experience and shared space. We were stuck at home. We pivoted to Zoom. We did a series of conversations on the city. We had 300, 400, 500, 600 people show up for these online conversations. We realized that our community still had this hunger to connect with the city, even if we couldn't do it together in person. So I think it is forcing yourself to find creative solutions, even when things are tough.
This is great. And then, well, you've always been high energy. I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I guess it goes both ways. It could be good, it could be bad from your perspective. But how do you recharge your battery? Because I feel like when you're, I see this with my wife, when you're a mother, you're a high-performing leader, you're still a wife. Like, you know, shout out to your hubby, right?
Hi, Patrick.
So you got to take care of him, right? You got to do that. But then that could be exhausting. So like, is it HBO Max streaming shows? Is it music? Do you still run? Like what?
Sure.
What do you do?
I run, so I'm a marathoner, and there's nothing to clear your head and give you some quiet like a 3-hour, 18-mile run.
What's your last marathon?
Last marathon was Philly in 2014.
You did the Philly marathon.
I'm sorry, Philly in 2024. I did Philly marathon last November.
You're telling me, and you were running back then, in cold Cleveland weather. Your knees and your joints aren't like broken now? Like
Knock on wood, yeah, still running. But I also say something I've learned about myself is I am a performative extrovert, right? I can be an extrovert at a party, when I'm running a program, when I'm running a board retreat, but I also know that I need to recharge my batteries and have some quiet time. And I really relish that quiet time. Sometimes it's on the couch with a book, sometimes it's on the couch with the Real Housewives, I'm gonna be honest. But just knowing that I don't have the battery to be social all the time, and I do need that quiet time for myself.
Gotcha. And, you know, obviously it's great that you've set that culture in your household too, right? Because it takes two to tango. That means your better half's got to support you doing that. And by you doing a marathon, that means you're training,
Want to be part of our growing community of entrepreneurs and business owners? Join our Patreon and gain access to all of our content, including exclusive videos, Twist of Fate merchandise, and bonus educational content. You can also advertise right on Twist of Fate by joining our ad partner program. Don't have an ad to run yet? That's okay. We can help you by producing a Twist of Fate perfect ad like this one. Check out the show notes and learn how to apply to become an ad partner. And of course, we always appreciate when you like, subscribe, and share. Now let's get back to Twist of Fate.
Are you going to do another marathon?
I'm going to do New York.
When is this?
In November 2025.
Oh, wow. But you don't start training for that quite
Start
yet,
in
right?
August, yeah.
You know, we did do an episode, it's called Out Front Endurance, and he is a nonprofit leader that hosts marathons. And I just developed this appreciation for the psychology of the runner. You know, I play sports, but I'm not a runner like that. Like, it takes a lot of, I'd probably say this parallels with entrepreneurism. Like, you hit a wall and then you got to keep going. It's amazing that you're still doing that. Does your husband run?
Not at all.
Smart man.
Yes.
Me and him
No,
are very
quick funny New York City Marathon story. It was one of my, I've run New York City Marathon 8 times now. One of the earliest times my brother was cheering me on and he had heard about the wall and he's like, I want to meet you at the wall. I want to see you when you hit the wall. And I was like, what are you talking about? He thought it was a physical wall that you hit. No, the wall you hit when you're running a marathon is mental. And for some people it's at mile 16 and for some people it's at mile 21. But the trick in marathons and also in life and in business is you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, until you reach the finish line.
Fantastic. A great mantra for life as well. One last question I have. In terms of the future of not just architectural design, but like what excites you most about what's happening in New York, in the area you work? Like, is it I mean, we're talking now it's the age of AI. There's advancements in crypto and how transactions work. Is there something that's coming that you're like kind of looking at like, whoa, like this gets you excited?
Sure, and credit to AI and all the great technological innovation. What excites me most about cities and what the magic of cities is public spaces. These are parks, these are plazas, these are sidewalks where New Yorkers convene and connect and have these serendipitous moments. And it doesn't require any technology, it requires a bench. And that always will be fundamentally where the magic of cities is. You know,
I think there's no better analogy of understanding the value that you mentioned. Like you mentioned COVID, when you couldn't openly take a walk and it's like you don't appreciate something until you lose it. So it's really special what you're doing, Kristin. So listen, from me to you, like I'm proud of you, my friend. You're kicking butt. You're making the world better. And we need you to win, right? So with that, I'm gonna move to my final thoughts. Like Twist of Fate community, I really want you to see that there is business with a heart, with your best interest in mind. I know that it's challenging times. I'm empathetic to anyone that's dealing with setbacks, failures, jobs that end not of your own fault or doing, but I would encourage you to battle back from this story you're hearing from Kristin and how you can be resilient to still chase your dreams, to still focus and be positive, and if anything, find your own twist of fate. If you like this content, share, like, subscribe. We're trying to make this content accessible. It's education forward, it's knowledge forward, and if anything, it's a glass half full, which is the American way. With that, I look forward to seeing you on the next Twist of Fate.
Twist of Fate is hosted by Doug Younger. It's produced by Julian Sepulveda and Zachary Davis at Mode of Motion Advertising and Film. Special thanks to all of our Patreon members. And if you want to be a part of our growing community, join our Patreon and get access to bonus material, Twist of Fate merch, and more. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.